Hey, this is Todd Phillips, your online pastor and personal life coach. I've got a question for you. Have you ever felt overwhelmed? Now, look, I know the answer is yes, right? For everyone, unless we're not being honest with ourselves. All of us have felt overwhelmed. And this is different than burnout. A few weeks ago, I talked about burnout. That's a situation that's permanent, or at least it feels like it is. It's an overwhelming, as I'm awake each day and as I go to bed at night and then wake up the next morning, I'm feeling burnout. I am burnout. I've hit the cracking point. My foundation, right, has been cracked. Now, this is different. This is feeling overwhelmed in the midst of our circumstances on a given day. And all of us have felt that way. You may be sitting there right now watching this at some point, and maybe you're on break at work and you're thinking, I feel overwhelmed right now. Well, listen, if that's the case, this is for you. I hope this is going to be a huge help to you as we take this journey together. All right, so let's talk about how to avoid feeling overwhelmed. Number one, start your day organized. Now, what do I mean by that? You know, all of us have I'm sure we have a Outlook or we have a calendar on our phone or on our computer. I'm talking about something a little bit different when I say start your day organized. This is time before the day begins that allows you to get ahead of those situations and those challenges that could cause you to feel overwhelmed if you're not prepared for them. Now, emergencies still happen, but what I'm talking about is the idea of literally going into work, right, each day a little bit early. This is one of the most incredible things that I ever did in my life. At 46, just about a year ago, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to show up at 8 o'clock, I'm going to show up at 7:30. And then I decided to show up at 7. And let me tell you why I decided to do that. I was in a situation where I was walking into my office every day at 8 o'clock, and our office manager, the minute I walked in the door, she had 5 notes for me, and somebody was on the phone for me at that moment. I couldn't even put my computer down and plug it into the wall before I had to deal with about 75 different problems. And so I started the day overwhelmed. And then it just kind of stayed with me throughout the day, and maybe you felt that way before. Well, I started to come into work early. First, it was 30 minutes because I love my sleep, right? So I decided, okay, I can suffer through 30 minutes. Let me try this for a while. And so for several months, I came in at 7:30 instead of 8. And it allowed me to look at my schedule. It allowed me to have a moment of quiet time. And for me as a Christ follower, as a Christian, to spend some time in prayer with God, asking Him to help me prepare for the day. But even if you don't believe in God, or you have questions about whether He exists, or you think I'm crazy for believing in Him, listen, this stuff still works, okay? It's coming in early. That 30 minutes early allowed me to prepare, to look at my calendar, to deal with what I knew and I found would be the problems of the day, right? So sometimes we're going through the day so quickly and we haven't had a chance to review that calendar of events, we find ourselves falling into stressful moments. Well, these 30 minutes allowed me to see those stressful moments on the horizon at 1 o'clock that day or 3 o'clock that day. And at 7:30 in the morning, it allowed me to prepare for that. It allowed me to take a deep breath and really begin to ask the question, how can I best prepare for that meeting? Look, I can't tell you how much this has changed my life in the last 10, 12 months to the point of now I'm coming in at 7 o'clock. And that may sound crazy to you, and I get that. Sleep is a core value for me, right? So this was a major change in my life to make this decision because every moment after that alarm goes off is important. In fact, I'm a big snooze button pusher, all right? But this has been so transformational for me, and I hope it will be for you. And I'm not asking you to do it for an hour or 2 hours or anything like that, but those 30 minutes that you give yourself at the beginning of the day, just 30 minutes, will do incredible things for you as you go throughout the day because you're starting at a place of knowledge and preparation. You feel ahead of the game instead of working behind the 8 ball. And we all know what that feels like, right? Number 2, not only do we start our day early and allow ourselves a block of time to prepare for the day so we don't feel overwhelmed, number 2 is that we need to transition well from meeting to meeting, chapter to chapter throughout the day. This is a really important piece of not feeling overwhelmed throughout the day. Here's the deal. A lot of us, what we do is we smash together. It's not even this, it's this, right? I mean, we just smash together the meetings throughout the day. So we start at 8 o'clock in the morning and we've got a meeting from 8 to 8:30, and then we smash and overlap that meeting and we're 5 minutes late from 8:30 to 9, and then we've got a 9 to 11 o'clock presentation and we mash that together with the meeting before and after, and then we try to pull a lunch in between that to go to the next meeting. You see what I'm talking about? And many of us, right? A lot of us have gone through this. Every day, this is how we live our lives, mashing our meetings together. And here's what happens when we do that. Let me explain it this way. Let's talk about a stress meter, all right? Stress level 1, you're calm, cool, and collected. Stress level 10, man, you're losing it. You're about to go nuts, all right? So from 1 to 10. This is how it normally happens for some of us. It certainly did in my life, and I bet you'll relate. Because we don't prepare to transition well from meeting to meeting, and you're probably even maybe sitting there right now thinking, well, Todd, that's not even possible. But let me get there in a moment. Let's just talk about reality today, right? A lot of times we'll start with that first meeting. We run into the office. We're already behind the 8 ball. All right, so our stress meter, the minute we get to the office, goes from 1 to 2. All right, now we jump into that 8 o'clock meeting and we're 5 minutes late to the 9 o'clock meeting. And while we were in the 8 o'clock meeting, we were thinking about the 9 o'clock meeting. And now when we get to 9, we weren't done with 8 and we're at a stress level 3. You see where I'm going this? Throughout the day, our stress meter goes from 1 and it just continues to climb as we mash through those meetings, as we mash them together and don't allow ourselves a time to breathe. So by the end of the day, we're at a 10. I mean, we are just absolutely through the roof with stress, and then we find ourselves trying to come down off this stress level 10 so that we can see our families 30 minutes later or an hour later when we drive home and be back at a 1 or a 2. And it's next to impossible to go from a 10 to a 2 in half an hour, right? So then we go to bed frustrated that we haven't spent time with our family. We wake up the next day and we're already at a 2 instead of a 1. And then day number 3, we're at a 3 instead of a 2. It's a really vicious cycle, and that's what I want you to see. And if you're going through that right now, I want you to hear this. There's a better way to transition from meeting to meeting. This is what I do. First of all, I block off times for my emails. And this is something I've talked about in another video about feeling burnout. And you'll want to watch that on the blog if you haven't seen it. But this idea of blocking off times for emails throughout the day allows me to not always trying to be catching up with those emails between meetings, okay? It allows me to focus in on what I've got in front of me and what I've got in my next meeting, and allows me to be fully present in the moment. So I know this may sound silly, but this is what I do. When I'm in a meeting, and I know I've got about 5 minutes left, if I'm in control of the meeting, and a lot of times because I'm leading an organization, I have that the gift of being in control of the meeting, I'll be fully aware of my time frame and allow myself just a few minutes, at least a few minutes between that and my next meeting to simply take 10 deep breaths, to breathe in deeply and out. And even close my eyes and allow myself a moment of, for me, prayer, just asking God to prepare me for the next moment. And then I walk into that next meeting, not running, but walking and prepared to engage fully with the creative insights and the experience and the direction that God has given me to apply all of that to that next meeting. So transitioning well from meeting to meeting is extremely important. And if we don't do that, we're going to find ourselves at a level 10. So what happens if you do it the way that I'm talking about? Well, it's really incredible. So let's say you go to the first meeting, you've got a few minutes between then and the second meeting, and that first meeting was very stressful and you're up at a 3. Take those deep breaths, spend some time in prayer, you're able to get down to a 2 or a 1 to prepare for the next meeting. And then you may see some stress in that meeting, but you have another moment of time of deep breath and relaxation and prayer, right? And you come back down to a 1. And so you're doing this throughout the day rather than doing this. And it changes everything. Not just your relationships at work and your ability at work, right? To contribute, to engage, but also your relationships with your family when you get home, right? Because it's a lot easier to go from a 3 to a 1 than a 10 to a 1. So think about that, transitioning well from meeting to meeting. And finally, number 3, give yourself an opportunity to catch up with the day. One of the best ways to stop from feeling overwhelmed is to start the day, like we talked about before, that first 30 minutes, but also at the end of the day to give yourself a small block of time to address the challenges, right? The things that were undone. If you know you've got a block of time, literally put in your schedule. You've got that block of time set aside. If you miss something at 11 o'clock or 1:30 in the afternoon, you can make a note to yourself that you'll handle that during that protected block of time at the end of the day. Now, the only way this kind of stuff is going to happen is a word that I use very often. It's intentionality. There's a difference between listening to this or watching this right now and saying, you know what, it would be really cool if I came in 30 minutes early and I blocked off time for my emails and I transitioned well from meeting to meeting and I protected some time in my calendar at the end of the day, but my day's just too frenetic. Don't believe that lie, right? Many of us have been in that habit for so long we do believe it, but it's not necessarily true. Now, some of us are ER physicians, some of us are on call at different jobs. I know that there's some limitations to this, but if we'll be intentional about trying to apply at least one of these things to our day, it will have profound, and I really believe this, life-altering impact on your career, and even your family, your life, your sense of purpose. I mean, I'm telling you, this can really have a huge impact on your life. So think about that. And until we talk again, live passionately, give generously, and impact the world for God. Hey, it's Todd. Did you get something out of the video you just watched? I really hope you did. I mean, that's my passion, to give you something that can be applied rightly to your life right now. Listen, if that happened, I want you to go right here and just click on this subscribe button, and it'll take you straight to the page so you can subscribe to my blog and get this content coming to your inbox every week. I hope you'll let me do that. I hope you'll allow us to be on this journey together. We'll see you soon.